good morning, good afternoon. It is the afternoon. I thought we might talk about magic, media, and the law of attraction, and the word pronoia, as opposed to paranoia. It's a key. It's a key exponent in the magical realm. It's everybody teaches the law of attraction, and it's a very interesting philosophy, and it comes down to something that is quite. It's a weird thing to be able to do. It's being able to be in the moment and be where you are, and as well enjoy it and participate in it, but somehow still live in some future, a manifestation. You have to be there too. You have to be in two places at once almost. Because if you're always in the present, you'll never plan any future, and things will come as they may. Which is, that's being in the zone, that's great. But if you are into manifesting things, you have to somehow look at what you have now and say, despite the way that I feel, despite the current circumstances, what's around you, my finances, my whatever, you can't get stuck in that. You can't get stuck in the present moment. I mean, you can't anyways, but you can somewhat get stuck in a feeling of the present moment. I think that's where people misinterpret depression and anxiety and other things, happiness, joy, because they get stuck in them. So depression, when it lasts a long time for people, they get focused on, I'm depressed and I'm going to be depressed. Not saying I'm going to participate in this depression. I know I'm depressed, but that's not all there is. It's just in the same way that when you're joyful, you go, well, I'll enjoy this moment of being joyful. If you say, I'll always be joyful, I mean, will you really? Will you always? No. The same way you won't always be depressed. Because the difference here is most people that get into a state of depression or anxiety or whatever, they go, oh, this is the dumps. I'm going to be like this. This is just what it is. And they dig themselves deeper into these feelings. Now, if you understand that depression is rooted in the word deep rest, you just rest. That's just what you do. You experience it, but knowing that you have a future that you're manifesting, it will come to you. It has to. You're magnetic. So as long as you accept what you have at the present moment and engage with it, but then it's always the silver lining, or it's raining now, but it'll be sunny tomorrow. These kind of those things. It's a dreary day, but it'll be sunny tomorrow. People forget that it was sunny yesterday. They get stuck in these little moments, and they go, woe is me and all of this. It's such a dreary day. My feet hurt. But you can't get stuck there. You have to somehow live in the moment, but have this feeling and this expectation of tomorrow. And that can be anything. So why not have pronoia rather than paranoia? Why not have things tend to, as an evolving consciousness, evolving species, as manifesting things, it does get better. It always does. As a grand rule. You can't just, because you've had a couple losses here and there, and who cares? You don't know enough. You don't know enough to be so tragic. A lot of people are very tragic about things. Like, this is the worst. It's the story of the farmer who finds a horse, a wild horse with his son, and brings it back to the village because it's a poor village, and the people in the village are like, oh, what a great day, you found a horse. This is awesome for the village and for you guys. And the grandfather, who is at the house, says, good, bad, who knows? And the next day, the son is trying to, take this horse and take this wild horse and turn it into a broken horse so it can run, it can be part of their farmstead, and gets thrown off the horse, breaks his back. The village is like, oh, what a terrible day. This is awful. This is the worst thing ever. The grandfather says, good, bad, who knows? A couple days later, as this child is, he's old enough to be going to the army, and the army comes through looking for any able-bodied warriors to come out and fight a war, and this kid can't. So the village, the father is like, oh, what a great day. This is all, my son doesn't have to go off to war. The grandfather says, good, bad, who knows? Now this story can go on indefinitely, which is, it's profound, but it's also the same as your life. It doesn't have to be so dramatic. Falling off a horse, breaking your back, not going to war. I mean, that's a quite dramatic way of explaining the story, but throughout your day, you have these little wins and losses. And the point is to not get stuck in those perceived wins or losses, but to have a pronoia about the future. Like what should the future hold? Despite all evidence to the contrary, why wouldn't you have what you wanted? Now, getting into this law of attraction, the reason most people don't get exactly what they want is because they don't ask and they're not specific enough. A major theme in creating a sigil, a major theme in imagining and having manifestation is to be very specific in what you're imaging in your mind. And the more specific you are, the closer it will come to that. If you just say, hey, I want something, I want a horse. Now we're using a horse as an example here. Well, you might get a Mustang, like a car, because you weren't specific enough. You might get a pony. You might get there's all sorts of weird things you might get. You might get a tiny little rocking horse. You weren't specific enough. And so people are like, oh, I didn't get what I wanted. Well, you did. You have to be very specific and orient yourself towards you have to be very accurate in what you're setting as a future goal, because it will manifest. Why wouldn't it? What else happens? You either accept the world as a giant clusterfuck and disorder and chaos completely. Okay, then you wouldn't be listening. But then if you look around, certainly this building here is stable. Certainly there's some masonry done. Certainly there's a foundation. Certainly something is built there. There's some structure. And that is somebody that took the time out to design and think and be very specific as a architect. So architect for yourself as specifically as somebody would, this building here. It will come that way. If you just go, oh, I want a building, and tomorrow you're like, okay, let's just do that, and you have no plan, you have no idea what that building, do you think you could build that? No. So you would go through the process of imagining it, and then drawing it out, writing it out. Now this is one of the things that I've many times say I don't do often enough, but there's a purpose for it in the long term for me. There's a purpose. Although you have tools, so you should design, write, put the goals on paper. There's a reason it's a pentagram and a pen or a pencil, and the paper, which is the papacy. And there's a reason you're writing with ink, which is kin. It's blood of kin onto a piece of papacy, the paper, the papyrus, the wood, the ink to the. There's a reason for that, certainly. and it will help to manifest things quicker for most people. But in the larger scope of thing, you live in a meta realm, a metaphysical realm, where the mind and your imagination creates. How did the pen and paper get there? You had to first conceive of it for that to even become what you're using to architect something. So in the easiest way, think about people that don't know how to write. They don't know English. They don't know a language. They're creating essentially on how their mind manifests something. And that's where it starts. So at first, you should definitely take a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen, whatever, and design something out. And as you do, if you've ever drawn something, when you first draw it, it's sloppy. It's not exactly what you. And then you go back and you go over it. And let's clean this line up. Let's do this. And you further and further perfect a vision of what you want. And so most people, they don't have the capacity in their mind to envision very much of anything to any lucid way. And this has to go into the dream world, out of body travel. Let's just do dreams. Most people's dreams are not that lucid and bright. They're not very specific. And there's a reason for this. Let's not get to why it occurred that way, why we're in that position now. Let's get into people's dreams are not as sharp and vivid as this reality. People take this reality as so solid because they haven't used looking around in this reality. They're not interested enough to be very curious about why is this chair here? Why does this thing smell this way? Why does this thing sound this way? And the more you're engaged with how this stuff is, the more vivid your dream world will become, to where you can't really tell much of a difference. So let me give you an example. When you first get into the dream world, usually people are not very lucid at all, and you can tell there's a difference. There's something cartoony about it, something very not stable, that you're not gonna. You're in a dream. And then as you become more and more aware that you're in a dream, you start to focus. And you can make things that weren't stable more stable. So for instance, people will tell you in a dream you can't read. If you look at a book, it will be a complete mess. You won't be able to read anything in there. You can't really, you're not really hearing much. But as you develop that and think more about what you're hearing and what you're reading here, and then while you're in a dream, you focus on that. You can read a book. I can read a book when I'm in a dream. To the point where you go, well, that wasn't so clear before. And just recently, interesting enough, because I was stuffed up nose right now because, I've been hanging out with too many people, smoking too much. But anyways, interestingly, a couple days ago, I had a dream where I was smelling essential oils. I could smell in my dreams, and it confused me at first because I was certain that I was in another dream state, and it was like one of my. Normally, you'll have your reality checks, and your reality checks would be looking at your hands, because your hands will start to dissipate, or maybe go look in a mirror and you'll see maybe see a different figure. Touch a tree, see if you can levitate. There's all sorts of little reality checks, but something that wasn't a reality check for me was, can I smell something? Although in this realm here, I don't just say you should take a moment to stop and smell the flowers. I actually do, but I've never taken that as a reality check per se. And then when I was in the dream world and I could smell something, which is, I've never smelled anything in a dream world. I've been through, I can read a book now, I can look into a mirror and see myself in a mirror. Everything is as solid in a dream world that now I can actually smell something. So the more you focus, the point is, the more you focus on little things here, it's all the little things that make up the big things. So as you focus on more things in this realm, you become you heighten your senses. Your senses were already input when you were birthed, and there were so many of them. Everything was going on. Holy shit! All of this, and then most of our senses got dulled, and we don't use many of our senses, and we definitely don't use them to a very high degree. We use them a very just mundane. Most people are not. They don't use their eyes. They're not really looking for or at anything. When they listen to music, they're really not into it. They're just like, okay, I know this beat. Or when they eat food, they really don't. It's like that's just shove it in your face. It's nourishment or something. Not like going, I'm really interested in that flavor. I'm really interested in that color. I'm really interested. But the more you become interested in here, it'll start to facilitate your dream world, which then in turn help to facilitate things in this world that are manifestations, which, if you really get into it, are coming from a level above this, or outside of you, or a different time that you'd consider. You'd say, like quantum jumping, or all time is exactly right now. You just happen to be in this certain vibration. So as you recognize, like, everything is coming out of your mind, where is your mind going? and you look at things that would be inconceivable to you when you were 10 were very conceivable to you when you were 20, but you couldn't have thought and designed that. But the more and more aware you become of other states of being, a state that you live in, another place, a different texture, smell, taste, color, it becomes more and more profound. And so when you find those things that used to be mundane in your existence to be profound, the mundane, simple things, you go, wow, look at that, isn't that crazy? It starts to allow you to really focus on something and turn that thing that seems to be in a dream world over there, and it will come into this reality as an object, a lover, a house, money, health, whatever it is. So so the point again is, you can't get stuck into what you see now is the only reality, because it's certainly not. Because your reality, no matter, just put yourself into your 5-year-old brain, if you could, or 10. And could you have imagined the things that you experience in the next 20 years? Like, I wouldn't have imagined living all the places I've lived. I couldn't have imagined, jumping off of this thing into the water. I couldn't have imagined going to these islands, or living in living in a treehouse. Or I can imagine the kind of people that I've got to meet. Like, I've got to meet some of the coolest, craziest, most amazing people. Like, would you have thought that? Would you? I didn't think I could draw, and then all of a sudden I could draw. I was like, whoa. So just your manifestations become more and more. They happen quicker and quicker, as long as you become more interested in things being better or changing. So you should have gratitude for what you already have, and then dive into, well, why wouldn't I? Why can't I have something more or something better? Stick in that place, whatever that is. Well, hello everyone. How y'all doing? What's up, Brent? What's up, Brent? Oh yeah. Cindy. No, it's not a cold. I just I come and hang out in the pool area with a bunch of my neighbors, and they all smoke. So, like, I'll get a cigar or a black and mild or whatever, and I've been smoking way more than so I'm a little clogged up over here. And also the weather changed a little bit, and I mistakenly turned on my heater in my house, and so that was blowing out all the scummy shit in my window. I didn't have my fan on, so I was sleeping in like weird weather. But no, I'm good. This will be out of me by the end of the day probably. But no, I'm good. Well, Cindy, okay, here's the being without thought is the blank slate. So when you get to the place of, like, in the Matrix, the white room, in the white room, That song. That's a place of complete empty nothingness that is the point of creation, to start drawing whatever pictures you want. And so getting there is a great place. It's sort of maybe perhaps what somebody might call samadhi, or some sort of higher level of, okay, you've separated yourself from everything that's around you, and you're your breath. You're in a completely just breathing meditation. And then from there you start to develop whatever it is. And the meditation, I mean, you're meditating right now. The biggest point that I try to make is, people have to be deprogrammed, and simultaneously you have to understand, if you realize that you're always in a meditation, life is a meditation unto itself. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care what you're doing. If you're thinking about anything, that is a meditative practice. You like, I'm writing this thing, or I'm drinking this, but my mind is maybe over here on some shit from last week, or maybe something I'm thinking about in the future. But whatever it is a reverberation of an idea or a thought. So you're always in a meditation. When you're in that place of no thought, that's a great place, because you've emptied yourself of all past and future expectations, which is the center point of creation. And then you have to find a way, so after you deprogram yourself from the things that you think are true, to get to the point of meditating on what you want to be true. It's a big gap, because you're still going to get, you're still gonna be interacting with parts of your last reality, this whole world, right? Like little crazy little things you have to deal with. Those things will just vanish away after a while. But when you first recognize it, you less and less get the bullshit. More and more get what you're looking for. And the most sick you ever got was from smelling a cigar? Oh man, I would say maybe you didn't get sick, but you were getting something out of you. I'm very much into sacred tobacco and all the sacred plants. But what I was smoking was not by any means sacred offering. I mean, I'm not gonna downplay, but it was like, I don't know, Swisher or White Owl or something. So it's not the perfect man. Yeah, there it is. The clean slate is that. And you try to do that during your meditation, starting from the clean slate. If you go to meditation already with expectations, that seems to be, most people are already starting from everything's. How does Savan Bomar put it? He says it's like repairing your ship while you're on it. You're flying around, or you're on a boat or whatever. You have to repair it while you're on it. So you have to realize, like, you don't just wake up perfectly magically. Like, if you have some sort of health issue, like, yeah, there's certain things you can do to get healthier a lot quicker. But it's not like you're not just gonna instantaneously, like, you have a broken leg and all of a sudden it's just not broken. Like, you can take something that should take 8 weeks and get it down to 2 weeks, and certainly in the future that will get down to a day, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to realize you're still going to have to deal with the residuals of other. I mean, if you want to talk about karma and past life things, like, you have traumas and what you'd call karma from other aspects of life that are still seep into this reality, but less and less and less. They become less what people would call triggers, or the leaking of other realities into yours becomes less and less. I mean, think if you went from where you live in a big city, so you have all of these inputs, to somewhere where there's no inputs, an island, you're not going to have any of those inputs. But also, that is a stark contrast. And what are you going to do? You live in a small tiny little island, you wouldn't know what to do with it. Just like people are always like, oh, I'm going to go live in the mountains and be a monk. Like, no, you're not. That's not what you want. But it's just a matter of decreasing the inputs that have any effect on you, and having outputs of expectations. You know, life is not as mathematical as people want it to be, which is a good thing. Because if you just say, oh, 1 and 1 equals 2, okay, great. So that means if I go down the street, every time I hit this red light, you're gonna start doing that to yourself and manifesting, oh, that's just what it is, thinking it's some mathematical equation. When in reality, there's a whole bunch of things that go, it's a big part is your expectation. And, maybe you just leave your house a little late every day. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not the fact that light is out there to stop you from driving. It's that you're already late to something and you already are focused on where you need to be rather than, leaving on when the comfortable time is and enjoying the journey, and all of a sudden all the lights turn green. So hello, welcome everybody. Speaking of sick, like how often are people made sick by, Munchausen's by proxy or by other people? This is magic. This is when a couple shows ago I was kind of getting into the word pharmakia and spell casting and medicine and things like this. Like how many people can talk you into being happy? Yeah, and feel better. And how many people can talk you into being sick? Quite a number. I mean, usually to micro levels, but there is a macro to this. There's a bigger and there's a more powerful level. People that are on their deathbed or whatever, and if the doctor says, hey, you know what, it's looking good, it's looking up, that person will stay alive longer. If they say, your father's got a week to live, now here's the trick there. If the family and the doctor know the patient, right, then they might say that because that person doesn't want to. They want to stay alive, and they'll live longer. They'll live 2-3 years. It's because their mind is stronger, right? But the influence of people's language. Here's the trick is you can't let people's language bring you up or take you down. That's when I have the hardest time taking compliments because I'm not going to take someone's insult to me. They're both. I mean, am I thankful for the compliment? Sure. You should be thankful for someone saying some bullshit too. But I just try to steer clear of having either of those things having an effect. And so, from the level of health and well-being, if people continually listen to the news, the media, the medes, their medicine men, the medes, they'll be influenced by their sickness, by them telling them the world's gonna apocalypse now, the world's gonna end, and everybody's sick, and that's going to overwhelm people's. How many times can you get that plugged into your head before you believe it? Now that's the dilemma with TV and media. Once you know that it's there doing that, you can look at it from a different way. And as I've always put out there, TV is not evil. Neither is mental programming. None of it's evil. It's just they've used it for ways of inducing a type of hypnosis on people, a bad hypnosis. Because you can be hypnotized to do something good. And you can hypnotize yourself, which is kind of that's kind of the goal, which is the other people's word. You have a suit of armor on you that your words are meaningless at best to me. My words, on the other hand, are fucking powerful. So, why when if my words are powerful, then what about my thoughts? Maybe I should continue, I mean, will I get on YouTube and watch, 12 hours straight every day of peace and love and and everything? No, because there's not enough balance and grounding to the real world there, and you'll wear yourself out because you'll never get to the point by watching these, happy, joy, everything, that it's just going to manifest before you become going, oh, this just isn't going to happen. It takes time to develop that, where you get something, and this is where you get something that you want, And so you're always getting little things you want here and there, good and bad. But when you write it down in the form of, you don't have to go as far as writing a grimoire. You just write a little sigil, and you'll know you did it. You turn it into your sigil, and you burn it. You get rid of it, and all of a sudden it shows up, and that verifies. That verifies to you that what you were thinking then became. Because when you make the sigil, you don't have to speak it. It shows you a little more about your mind and power of symbols, imagery, and the power of the subconscious. So after you start, getting these tiny little wins here and there with that kind of stuff, then you can ask the universe for something bigger. I mean, if you believe, do you really believe you will win the lottery for $1 million tomorrow? Probably not. But do you believe you could go get a scratch-off ticket and win $5? Yeah, I think you could probably handle that. So, write a sigil and then go buy the ticket. But to really think that you could be making a sigil with the mindset of going, I really know that's possible, that I'm going to win $1 million, that would be too tough. You could do that. You could do that all day. You do that. If you did that every day for 30 days and you lost every time, that would be a big, it'd be a big roadblock to wanting to even practice thinking positively, or it's not even positively, like bigger manifestations, because you didn't believe it, and for the universe to put it together for you, it's going to take a little more effort than get you a $5 scratch off. It's the same as asking for a car, easy enough to come by. You get one whenever you want, if you want to manifest that. But if you want a specific car that they don't make too many of, for that to come into your frame of view, it's going to take a little bit. And you don't want to. It'd be like thinking while you're in elementary school that you're going to be a professional tennis player. That's going to happen tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. So you don't want to. You can't at first, when you're practicing magic and being a human and using the law of attraction, all these things that you're doing anyways. When you think about it, and you're conscientiously doing it. You have to know that you're not quite yet to the point of making the time frame of how things unfold. That'd be a time word.
$200 off or purchase $1,000 or more at softbud.com/200.
Yes, what's up, C Noble? It is a fridge day. So I mean, I should be at home eating everything out of the refrigerator. Cindy, yeah, they get the same flu, and they expect it. Yeah, there you go. That's a huge thing that's happening too. Like on a bigger scale, like anybody can say anything they want about bacterias and all of the theories and germs and yeah. If you know how the body functions, none of that's really gonna matter anyways. But the mindset, certainly, that's having a huge effect. A huge effect on people's general, mental health then becomes somewhat of a physical health, right? So if they think that, they're talking themselves into it. Like the cells in your body are listening to you. They're gonna work in concert to listen to what you're saying. You have the sickness or the health or the dis-ease of a cell is, well, that's up to you, I guess, right? So if you're continually in the I'm not feeling good mode and I'm weak and I'm tired, you'll continually be sick and weak and tired. Until you say, okay, I'm done with this. Let's try something new. It's still going to take you a little bit to develop. Your cells are still going to have to go through, we're trying something new here. Let's process this garbage out of here. Let's do something new. Still got to do that. Yeah, Breton. Visualization practice is enormous. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm much better at visualizing these days. And when I get into the right breathing pattern and almost to dreaming, I'm very, very vivid. But like right now, could I just sit here and see something behind my closed eyelids? Not necessarily. and I think a lot of people, they take that as a impingement. Is that the right word? On their capacity to imagine something. Because you do. You just might not be able. Like a lot of people I know, I'd say most people I know cannot really see something behind their eyelids until they're in the dream world. There's a few people I know. I'm like, hey, if you close your eyes right now, can you literally see what you're thinking about? They're like, yeah, and that's profound. But so most people believe that to visualize I have to be able to close my eyes and really sincerely see that image, which you won't at first, and that gets in the way of people, practicing. Okay, well, you got to develop that. You used to have that. You got to redevelop that, which is okay. Think about a bush. Okay, what kind of bush? Now be specific. Oh, what does it feel like? Ah, what does it smell like? Oh, put it in your mouth. What does it taste like? You have to go through all of these things that are specific for your senses to engage your mind to create that in your mind, which is, see, it's right there. I can go touch it. Here's this chair. Here's this thing, and it's very solid. It's there. But as soon as I go somewhere else, it's not there. Can I revisualize this? Can I revisit this thing? And the more interested I am in this, I could visualize this a lot easier than something that I haven't explored in a long time. So I could. Oh, I know the feeling of the metal. I know the sound of it. Even that's a fun one. I know the taste of metal. So when you start to use all of your different senses, that's what's consolidating, taking all of your senses and consolidating into a physical representation. That this thing that we see in front of us. What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What is it? And we're so far removed as humans on a day to day. How many people go through the motions of anything and they're not actually experiencing or participating in it? And at that point, what's the use, huh? So welcome to anybody here that's new. Sometimes whenever I'm talking and doing these things, I always have to get myself back to the point of realizing that not everybody that's listening is here now, so I got to talk to people in the future. The future. Remind myself that, oh yeah, if anybody wants to. It is the holiday season, and if you're feeling like you would like to gift me something, feel free. CashApp, PayPal, Venmo. So people go, well, why don't you just manifest that? Well, it takes the whole world to manifest things. So hey, maybe you are the being or the energy that makes that manifest for me. Maybe I teach you something. It's each one teach one. Like energy is a bunch of different things. It's money. It's a physical item. It's someone saying something to you. You ever walk through life? You're walking down the street and you're having that bad day and somebody says something and it lifts your spirits. Like that's worth fucking anything. That's worth a lot. So if you want to, CashApp, PayPal, Venmo, and it's TSAR XEN. It's in the description box beneath. And if anybody here wants one-on-ones on anything, as I'm sitting here with a stuffed up nose going to tell you guys about health and well-being and fasting, I'm still pretty, I'm a tenured professional in these things. So if you need help with that kind of stuff, feel free. Theoluminous, TheoLuminous. That's me. Oh, at Gmail. So it's the holiday season. Oh, anybody here that doesn't know this, that didn't read my update, I'm re-releasing some of my earlier popular videos. So anybody that's very new here doesn't know, I've been doing this for a while, and there's a couple of videos out there that are really good. Not according to me, to other people. I mean, obviously according to me, or else I wouldn't have made them. I'm re-releasing those out of my vault of nearly 4,000 videos. Yes, there's a lot of them. and re-releasing some of those, and they're about etymology, the realm, magic, all sorts of different things. How time functions, what crystals were used for, what pyramids, and why people wore those crowns, why they were made of the certain materials, all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm re-releasing some of those. I'm not going to do a huge, like, giant download because I want people to be able to still follow along. So I released about 10. I re-released about 10 of my old ones. So if you go to the community page on here, you can look at that and see which ones I uploaded or re-uploaded. And I will try to do that so people don't, they're like hour-long videos. So I'm like, how much time does anybody have? So I'll try to do that like every few days, and I'll selectively go through and find some of the ones that I like better, or whatever has a really good thumbs up to view ratio. Oh, and I have a new possibility to do, like, it's like a YouTube. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com. I just downloaded the app and I'm trying to figure out how the shit works. But apparently I'm going to be able to do live shows on there soon. So I mean, that's my wheelhouse or whatever. I like doing this rather than doing one way. Just let me teach something. But that should be open up pretty soon as another source for people to get information from me. So we'll see how it works out. And it will be kind of set up like every other platform where you can buy a membership and it's like, $2 a month, and that gives you opportunity to listen to me talk once a week or something. Or you can get the full package and it's like $20 a month, and then it gives you maybe access to one-on-ones with me, all sorts of little gifts and treats and shit. And I never wanted to do that. I never really did. I could have done this for all these years, because I just would rather rely on the gifting and community shareable wave, where I could just be like, hey, I have CashApp, I got PayPal, there's no taxing, there's no anything like that. I give this, and you give that if you have it. And I never liked the subscription part, because it would hold me to making sure that I'm making a video and it might not be as good as what I want it to be. And it holds you to, like, always coming out your pocket. But nonetheless, I might try that out and see how it works. So there's that little heads up news bit. Oh, Octavia here throwing up the voice. Hey, Octavia, thanks for coming through. You're definitely not a computer robot, are you?
What's going on, man?
Oh, what's up? Yeah. I have yet to see the purpose of what all of the bots that come through. I see them on other people's channels and on mine, and it's always the same letters and whatever. Like, what kind of code is it? Could it be a special prize? Or is it just some bullshit? I'm gonna go with, I don't know. Could be anything. Oh, and here's a little more news update. I think I'd like to do. I want to start doing the Zoom chats again, and I really want to just go out and get the year subscription. But what I might do is just bite the bullet and pay for a month, and then see who I will get to tag along and do some lives over there. And so if you guys are not familiar, Zoom gives you the possibility to interact with me on here, and I can see your face if you want me to. You can talk, and I can hear your voice. And there's no barriers to what I can talk about or show. I can put, I can screen capture things. I can bring up things that are So when I'm talking about something, I can just click on the shit on the Googles or whatever. Where on here, that's not a possibility. So I want to get back to doing that, but it does cost me something, so it has to be, I'm not coming out of my pocket with that shit. So if anybody wants, feel free to help donate towards that, and that will come back to you because you get to interact with me on a different platform, different way. You'd be like, some people are like, could you imagine if really popular channels like Russell Brand or like, well, Terrence ain't around no more, but if they were doing that, no, you get the opportunity to talk to me. Are you serious? So if I don't know how many people are new here from the time I used to do those, but we used to kick it. There would be a few days of me doing completely just teaching shit, and then we'd get into goof off mode at 1 o'clock, and everybody be on there playing music. We had a couple concerts, like people I know that play different instruments. They would just bust them out and start playing and just get drunk, talk shit, and play all sorts of cool videos and all sorts of different lessons. Like we could always dip into things. I'd be like, oh, you need to know this from an old Barbara Wren book, or there's this documentary I watched. I could just click on it and watch a little snippet from that. So that's cool. Ha 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 ha. Brenton, do I believe that? Yes. Without a doubt. That is the initial way things were formed, as far as I'm concerned. Whether you're talking about the shamans, whether you're talking about even in the Bible, in the beginning there was the Word, that kind of idea. Terence McKenna thought this as much. And just the idea of how cymatics work. To think that just because you're not saying something, that you're not creating some sort of vibration from your brain, that's happening too. So thoughts do manifest things, using sounds to create. That seems to be the original way that we started to create letters and language. And I don't suppose at all that, I mean, again, look at it, like shit around us, like how did it get here? We can talk about the material world all we want, and these little quirks and bosons and the God particle and what. Okay, but like you start putting these tiny little things together that are always moving and vibrating, and they make these certain connections, and all of a sudden you have a piece of marble, or maybe you have Jello. How does that get to be there? Prior to the source, what was the source? It seems to have been thought, and you could. You can read into thoughts, like the ancient Egyptian. Yeah, it's your ideas. It's your. Where did they come from? I think we don't get to understand that. That's too difficult. It's a culmination of different experiences. Where did the first experience come from? Who cares? I think people get too carried away with trying to find what was the original long time ago source, and not go, well, the source of it is you. And just so make with what you have. I mean, obviously your mind is not going to work like mine does, and mine's not going to work like yours does. But you're like, oh man, you ever see somebody design a house? Or like, why didn't I think of that? Or that's so cool. Or but as soon as you see that, and then it's something else you see over here, all of a sudden you triangulate that and you make something that is a blend of those things. I think we're always in the mode of. It's a creative endeavor that is more akin to. Not quite creating something completely, absolutely original, but it's melding all of these different things that already existed. So it is creation, absolutely, but we're using parts and dots and pieces of all sorts of experiences that we've had. Some people, they can hear a sound, and that sound becomes an idea for something that they want to cook, that they want to eat. And the sound of that makes me want ice cream. Well, that could be all sorts of reasons for it, but maybe you could synesthetically understand that, well, there's a reason that you think of the color green when you hear the C note played, because it's an octave, it's octaves, but at the same key. So we're just working with that. So all of a sudden you have all these different keys that you're working with. So you can now play with the keys and all. Hey, look at Life is More Magical When You Dream is the commercial. Hiya, pal!
Near Orlando and Miami, and get ready for a dream come true with Disney Cruise Line.
You think it's not listening? Or did I manifest that? I don't know if you could hear it. Yeah, the source is always, when sometimes people say that, I don't think they know what they're saying. I know you know what it means, and I know that I'm trying to explain what it means, but a lot of people are like, oh, the source is always in you, the answer is always in you. Like, yeah, but sometimes you're wanting people to find answers that they don't already have all of the pieces. Like you're giving them a puzzle that the box didn't have all the pieces in.
Yeah, totally appetizing food and drinks.
Thoroughly accessible.
But yeah, certainly.
It stands for Travel Centers of America.
What's up, Daily Deuces? The BCP? Is that like Daily Deuces? Is that like taking a dump every day? And what does BCP stand for? Let me see if I can figure that one out. BCP Daily Deuces. Well, the way actually, am I looking at it wrong? Because deuces is DUECES. So deuces, or is it a different language, or? I know. Remember the band BEP? Boundless Creation Productions. I dig it. Do you remember the band Black Eyed Peas? BEP. I'm talking about Black Eyed Peas before they went pop. I'm talking about the original. Like go to their first 2 albums. That was good. That was real good stuff. yeah, angel wings. That's what do they say about Mother Nature? She's the greatest teacher because she gives you the test and then she gives you the lesson. Yeah. Oh, you know. Okay, yeah. Yeah, now, you know what? That's what I'm going to be listening to today. Whenever we're done with this. I've been listening to the mess out of Prof. Like, not his super hip hop heavy shit, but his singing. Like, he's got a bunch of shit that he sings on, which I think is, and it's verified of how good it is, because there's a couple people that I live in the building with that are classically trained singers. Excuse me. A little phlegm there. One used to church choir, and they're in a band and whatever, and they listen to like, what the fuck is this? So yeah, Prop, his singing is excellent. So I've been kicking that. And, what else? Man, I've been all over the map lately too. But for beats, what about Beat Nuts? How about Beat Nuts? If you don't know Beat Nuts, that was around the same time. It was like Black Eyed Peas, Beat Nuts, Das Effects. Yeah, the chill hop. I just go to. There's a chill hop radio station I was getting into on the YouTubes. It's whenever the first one shows up. If you put chill hop in, I don't know if your algorithm works the same as mine, but there's a chill hop station with Steezy. You know Steezy as fuck. You know Steezy? I dig that. That's my dude. He's sitting there on our couch. He's like a bear or something. He's sitting there smoking a blunt, watching TV. It's raining in the window. Yeah. Yeah, I want. You know what's funny is when's the last time anybody recorded a cassette tape? Well, we still call them mixtapes. Will that be forever? Will it always be a mixtape? I mean, we always say B sides, right? But you don't really have B sides anymore because you don't have a record, so you don't have the A and B side, or a cassette for that matter. You know. You listen to Nietzsche more than music. Yeah, I went through my phase of listening to basically philosophy and like heavy duty, all sorts of philosophy, psychology, blah blah blah. And during that time, I listened to mostly classical music and peppered in some jazz. I never left hip hop out of that mix, but and then I evolved, and it's just now everything is whenever I feel like it. I kind of burnt myself out on so many different things that now I've just taken a step back, and I find my way back to all of the shit. I mean, there's just so much to involve yourself with. You can't get too stuck on one thing. What I know about Aliester Brenton? I mean, in the singular, in the big sense, I don't know the guy. Never met him. And what do I know of his work and what he says? I have not found too much is not quality. All of the information he puts out and everything I've read and understood about the teachings, heavy duty, awesome. I don't. When people discredit him and any other magician or somebody that puts out these great works, I can't understand it because I read this shit. I'm like, well, where's the problem with what's being said here? BCP, jazz is always good. Well, I mean, shit, I live in New Orleans, so it's in my blood at this point. Like I think I listen to maybe like an hour of some sort of jazz every day at least. If I go out into the quarter, I mean that's jazz and then peppered in with a bunch of other whatever's going on, whatever street performers are there. Like Robert Anton Wilson, Aliester, any of the. I mean, there's so many that I'm just like I listen. I'm like, oh, this is amazing, and then some people are like, oh, they're an occultist, they're a magician, they're on the. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. It's like frustrating. You listen to people. Here's the argument I've gotten to people on the internet. And it frustrates me to no end, but it doesn't anymore because I just don't care, is the law of Thelma, right? And it's do as thou will, but that's not the whole quote. They're taking it and they frame it all wrong. Oh, do as you will. Oh, that's what that means. Forgetting completely it says love under will, love is law, do as thou will, love is, they forget the first part that love is, love under will, love. They forget that part. They just plainly leave that out of do as thou will, because you do as you will. But love is right there. You have to, if that's not attached to it, and they leave that part of the equation, it's like you can't give me half the equation. And I'm like, oh, if somebody says do whatever the fuck you want, that's how they say it. They go, oh, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm like, well, you just read one part of it. How about you read me the rest of the book and tell me where the problem is? Can you guys hear the tunes on in the background, by the way? Because I got some non-copyrightable hip-hop, lo-fi hip-hop on. It's interesting if I don't put these on right now because the shade is in the pink realm. It actually makes my screen brighter, and I can't really see the screen without them. I'm not wearing these because they're fucking cool, although they are pretty awesome. Oh, for everybody that's new here, thumbs up are always important. All you gotta do is push a button. It's like as you're typing, and it's like, hey, hit thumbs up, do that, feel free. If you enjoyed, if there's anything specific you want to get into, let me know. We talk about language, we talk about letters, numerology, alpha numeric codings, we talk about astrotheology, we talk about the stars and the moon and the sun, dude. We talk about Earth, man. Fucking rip some bong hits right now. You're totally fucking stoned to the bone. The devil is in the details. Yeah, a lot of people, you know, the disrespect for the devil is too profound. Once you're on this earth, you're part of Julius Caesar's devil plane. You know what I'm saying? When people are trying to say everything is of God and we can only do God and don't sin, I'm like, bitch, you drive a Mercedes Benz that is polluting the planet, that is, like, you eat fast food. Like, don't give me that shit. I don't want to hear it. Everything here is, of course, God manifests this, but you can't separate the two. People go wrong with that all the time. Nothing is perfectly good and nothing is perfectly bad. That's the way I like to play it. There's good and there's bad. There's God and there's the devil. There's joy. Now, if these people would just use their own lack of logic, you know, if they would use their own progression, God created everything, then just stop with when you say God created the devil. We'll just stop there. We'll just stop there and just meditate on that until you grow up. Because if God created the devil, there must have been a purpose. It's not to teach you a lesson in the way that you think. It's to teach you a lesson in that the physical world is a gift. It's a present. It's a present moment. Enjoy it. Because God created the world, right? So you can't say the world is of the devil. Can the devil create the world? Yeah, it's so corny. It's so sophomoric. I mean, I can't even call it sophomoric thinking. It's pedestrian. Anybody wants to buy me a coffee or a beer, I'd be appreciative of such things. And it is the holiday season, so feel free to use up some of your biosurvival credits, biosurvival tokens on purchasing this fine gentleman here a beverage if you'd like to. CashApp, PayPal, blah blah blah. It's beneath. TsarXen, that's me. And what I will do for all of you is continue teaching you things, and I will make a couple sigils for everyone here. And you don't know what it's for, but you'll get a gift. I will see to it. And if you want to, you can make a sigil for me. See how easy that works. If you ain't got you use a different piece of paper. I mean, if you already got the already spendable bucks, those are helpful. Oh shit. Oh shit. Well, we'll see. We'll see if mi amigo is taking a... Oh, let me ask you guys a question. If you were... Okay, so I'm making this video with you. It's a friend of mine. And I had said earlier, like, I wanted to go to the store, but it's a fucking mess out. And she's like, I might be able to, get a car for a minute and go to the store. I was like, I probably want to get some juice and blah, blah, blah. And she had sent me a text saying, would you like me to get you some juice? Because I'm headed to CVS real quick. And because I'm here, I can't answer it. Now, if you were them, would you just get some juice? And then I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'll give the money back. Would you expect money back, or would you just go out and do it, or you'd be like, well, would you just get juice because it was like, oh, there's a birdie right here. Sorry, fuck my story. I'm talking about this bird right here. Do you want to see him? Hey, hold on. See this guy? There you go. He's right there. See him right there? That's that bird. Come over here, guy. You see him? I will have to take you to this cafe sometime where the birds will eat out of your hand. And like there was a cafe I went to a couple of times, and they would always be near the tables and eating all the food, whatever. And there's a giant tree in this court, kind of like this, but it's like, so if that was the restaurant, and there's like an overhang, and then there's other restaurants and other shit going on over here. In the middle, there's a giant tree, and all the birds live in it, and they come down because there's outdoor seating. And so the birds, if you're nice enough, they'll come over and eat out of your hand. It's pretty awesome.
Choose the higher level of PCR excellence, one that combines accuracy, speed, and flexibility. Choose the Plus Advantage from Sentient. Over 70 million tracks to choose from, or one song moved on replay. Doesn't it feel good to know you have choices? Welcome to the world of endless possibilities. Enjoy freedom at your pace by searching and playing songs on your favorite device through Spotify.
So whoever's capable of touching a keyboard, who's here at work, who's at school, who is listening when they shouldn't be because they should be doing something else, who got me as like background music. There was a couple times when I was doing shows a couple years ago, and my dude was like, yo, I'm at the bar, I'm putting you on the big screen right now. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, that's great, don't tell me that. So I'm like talking to a bunch of, so at the time I'm doing it, it's probably like 5 o'clock, which means it's like midnight in Ireland, like fucking drunken, bunch of rowdy drunk Irishmen at a bar, and my buddy's like, as I'm sitting there talking some crazy philosophy and weird shit, he's like, I'm putting you on the big screen. I was like, oh Christ. What should we talk about here? I'm gonna so for anybody that's not familiar, this is I'm taking my 1.5 minute commercial break. It's a non-commercial break where I'll just sit here. I don't know if there's a lag on y'all's side or if you're just busy or whatever, but I'm gonna take a little moment here for myself. And we could just do a meditation. I could walk you through a meditation. Or whatever. Let's smoke something. Well, interesting to hear. We'll talk about this. In the past, so if we look at the 4 humors of health, 4 humors. It's hot and dry and wet and cold. Those are the 4. So if you have an ailment in the body that is you're going to pick 2 of the things. It's either hot or cold or wet or dry. So if someone has a cold, they're cold and wet. So what the response, what you want to do is give the body something for a cold, dry and hot. So the proper response for a wet cold is tobacco. So people would smoke and it would get the phlegm out. It would heat up their body, it would heat up their lungs, and then get out the phlegm, the coldness, and the dry and the wetness, because it's hot and dry. Now, obviously, we're at a place there's other chemicals and bullshit in it, and yeah. But the general practice was you know find the opposing thing. So if you're dry, isn't it only obvious that you'd want water? If you're cold, isn't it only obvious you'd want warmth? So you can find this in the plant kingdom, foods that are heating the body up, or things that are cooling the body. Cucumbers are cooling, all sorts of fruits are cooling. So there's some vegetation that is, right? And then you have other things that heat up the body. A hot pepper, what is it doing? Somebody's cold. Like, wouldn't that heat you up? So when you look at things from a very basic source, we can adjust the health of somebody pretty quickly. I mean, in this case, obviously, this probably isn't the best thing because I'm a little snotty right now, and this is something beyond tobacco, meaning there's chemicals and shit in here that I obviously know better than to inhale, but I'm an alchemist and I'm an idiot. An idiot abroad. I mean, I'd rather smoke trees with y'all, but I don't have any. What is this? Andre Freeman? What is going on? How are you doing? I feel like I know you. I feel like you changed your screen name. Your screen name. What is going on in your world? How is your holiday season? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I recall you. How is the world been providing to you lately? Have you been getting all the great Christmas gifts? Has your harvest been a splendor? It's interesting when people talk about harvests, they use it in terms of, well, it depends if you're talking to an esotericist, an esoteric person, right? Or if you talk to somebody that's just like literally planting and start harvesting seeds out in the earth. But when we look at it from a deeper level, it's like your planting of an idea is the seed, and the harvesting happens all the time. So the Sabbath is not Saturday and it's not Sunday. The Sabbath is after you've already planted a seed of whatever it is you want, your expectations, your desires, your hopes, your whatever you want. And in the same way, with your expectations, is what you should do if you plant a seed in fertile ground and in the correct climate. There's really nothing you need to do. You leave it alone and you let it come to fruition. If you do anything, you'll damage the seed. So if you have an expectation or a hope or something, you plant the seed and then you take Sabbath and you just let it go. And all of a sudden, if you needed, if you were planting a fruit tree, it might take a while for it to bear fruit. If you plant an avocado, it'll take 9 months. If you want grapes, that might take a lot longer, right? Until you can actually use that harvest. If you were to plant, green onions, it's not going to take too long. So there's all sorts of things, just like your expectations or the seeds you plant with your mind. It takes different amounts of energy and time for it to come to fruition. And as long as you don't fuck with it.
America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you.
Meaning, don't interrupt. Don't cancel out your own. What do they say? Don't cancel out your gifts and your prayers. Don't cancel them out. If they're good, let them be. I mean, if it's stupid bad thoughts, of course, trim those up, get rid of them. Oh, people always say don't block your blessings. That's a big one. That is big amongst the Christian community. Don't block your blessings, which is correct. A lot of people, you want whatever you want, but you want it packaged a certain way and delivered on a certain day. That's the mistake people make. You want it from someone when you want it, how you want it. You don't get to make all those choices. You just say, what do you want? And then there you go. So sometimes you're getting what you want, but you don't notice it because it's like, well, there's no reason this person would give me that. So you just kind of go, oh, I don't want that. Well, it was right there. It's like you see, like, I want to get laid. Well, you're offered it, and you're like, well, that's not what I want. Well, you weren't specific enough. You should have said, well, who should that? What should that look like? Who should that be? What should that energy be? I might take you guys out on a journey tomorrow. Oh, that'd be Saturday. Depending on the weather, I'll take you to the the lights across the street at City Park, and you guys can have a Christmas. It's totally awesome. The entire park is all lit up. I took you guys last year. And you guys, if you want to see what it is, it's called Celebration in the Oaks. Look up Celebration in the Oaks. I'll take you and I'll just walk through the whole thing. You're not really supposed to, but because they're doing cars only because of the bullshit. And I think it's just an excuse to charge cars $40 because usually you'd be able to walk through for free. But nonetheless, I'll walk through there, show you all the cool exhibits and lighting. Hey, if anybody's listening and they know the answer to this, is there any way I can have like I want my camera to be farther away from me. And I would like to get a different shot and not have to be so right here, but I want all of the comments here. I want to be able to access them. Like if I could get like a separate thing that I could plug in my phone to be able to still look at the screen right here. You know what I'm saying? Like I can do it if I have a whole other phone. I could be watching my same video, and I could look at it that way. And I could also, oddly enough, I can't comment in where I should be able to comment, even though it's my channel. There's no way to do it on here because I'm using an Android. If I use a PC while I'm doing it, I can type something in like, "Hey, what's up, so and so," and have a little side chat. But I cannot do it on here on my Android. If anybody knows how I can either do that from my Android or be able to set my camera up away from me, so I can look at all of your comments here. Anybody's into the information technology and the digital world, let me know. What else should we dig into here? Get at more things on sigils, on magic, spelling, perhaps writing out a magical book of incantations and spells and things. A grimoire. And if you're not familiar, the word grimoire is grammar. So anybody that, if you write anything, you're practicing magic. Sorry for people that don't like it. You're dealing with spirits and angels and demons and all sorts of demigods and all of it. As long as you don't forget that you're God or Goddess doing it, then you don't. Then you're not missing anything. The initial understanding is that you are the monad, the single source center point of the circle and everything, and then you take angles or angels. So you take angles of light, which are fractions of the sound of the light, into smaller things. So making the sound A is different than making the sound G or D. Those are angles, which are letters. The ladders are the angels. This is why they say the ladder, the angels went up and down the ladder. So these letters create a larger fraction of the light spectrum, which is a word. So speak a word, and you get a chunk of. You don't want all the light. If you had all the light, everything would be blank. You can't speak everything at once. It would be pointless. You wouldn't be able to experience it. So you fractionate it. That is the only way to experience life and reality. Is you can't. It can't be all at once. You have to divide. It's divided up into pieces of time, pieces of color, pieces of things. I mean, it all fits there together. I mean, there's green plant there. There's wood here from an old tree. There's some metal there from different objects, and a glass that you can see through. Separate but unified, huh? How far are we in this? About an hour and a half? Uno momento, yo. I was considering going inside, but the echo in there is too much. That little room back there, the echo is way too much. Well, if no one's gonna say anything, perhaps what I'll do is a second part to this. You would have to give me a couple minutes to collect my thoughts and see where we can go from here. But maybe we'll keep it in the realm of language and magic and creation. And what I ended with just a second ago, we'll continue on that. Unless you want me to continue on and you have questions or comments, it could be anything. Feel free to jump in. Or I'm gonna go take a piss. Maybe jump in the pool. Isn't that crazy? I could jump in the pool right now, and it's almost Christmas. Would I be cold? Yes. Do I have a towel? No. Am I going to? Perhaps.
Plus, get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for $299. All of America's best networks. 5G coverage.
Oh God, yo.
5G phones, less money. Straight talk wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required.
Over here, I'll talk about coffee really quickly. So I was listening to this sciencey guy the other day, and he was talking about caffeine and coffee, and why it is that people, you think you get energy from coffee, which is not true. What it's doing, much like an Advil or Tylenol or whatever, it's cutting off pain receptors in the body, which is useful, especially if you're just getting it from the plant source. Maybe you get some white willow, and you turn that into a tea. It's cutting off pain receptors so you can do something, so you don't feel the pain. What coffee is doing is it's cutting off the I'm tired sensor. It's not giving you energy. It's not making you more. It's not. Oh, this is caffeine. And no, the little extra anxiousness you're getting is usually from the white sugar and any other chemical on the bean. But in and of itself, when you drink coffee, it's just turning off the I'm tired thing. So it's best when you drink coffee to put a fat in there, soluble fat, so that the chemicals in the coffee will go into the fat. So you can use an oil, butter, and when you or milk, right? So it will be a slower release into the body. So it will keep you not tired for longer, and it won't give you that jolt of anxiousness as well. Well, I'll leave it at this then. Assuming that either the chat got kind of interrupted, or you guys are just don't feel like typing, or you're tired of me talking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little break here anyways, because I really do got to piss. I was trying to push that down, because you can. Here's a little thing too. Once your blood is kind of clean enough, you can recycle your urine inside of your body without having to do shibambu kalpa. Recycling it this way for the plasma. But if you're kind of filthy to begin with, not a great idea to do it too often. But you can keep I don't know how many times you've had it happen. You had to pee real bad, but then you got to the point where you overly had to pee, and all of a sudden you just you didn't feel it anymore, because then your kidneys and your bladder basically re-released it back into your system on its own. So there's not, so you can do that. But I'm at the point where I kind of gotta pee. So I'm gonna go pee. And you guys remember that the most important person is you, so take care of yourself. And when you can, help out others. And always be weird. Always be yourself, because everybody else is already taken. And enjoy your day. Hey, Black Sun, what are you doing? I'm gonna go piss. You just got here at the end. Come back. I'll be back here, and give me like 10 to 15, and I'll be back, and I'll continue the show on more things and to do with etymology, magic, spelling, words, that kind of stuff. We'll play with that. But I'll be back in a few minutes. And anybody here that feels like they've ever received any gifts from me energetically, feel free to energize me through currency, biosurvival tokens, credits to purchase physical items, money, CashApp, PayPal, Venmo, TsarXen, that's my Cash App, and that is also my paypal.me/. Make sure you capitalize the X. And my Venmo is Zen Dash, or it's the dash, yeah, Atman-1. And you can find that beneath. And if you need to, holler at me for anything specifically. You can hit me at Theoluminous, TheoluMinous @gmail.com. And good to see everybody. And I'll probably be back on like 15. Toodles, weirdos.